Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest in this segment is Matt von Teichman. He's the CEO of GreenSpace Brands Inc, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol JTR. Matt, welcome to our little show.
Thank you, James.
Matt, let's start. What does GreenSpace Brands do?
So prior to a few weeks ago, we were really just in the natural food space. So we have a whole bunch. We have 9 different brands in the organic and natural food space that we sell through every major retailer in Canada. And then we have one brand in the US that we bought just in January that is a plant-based dairy business that also sells pretty much through the whole country. Oh,
cool. So it's obviously going to be focused on CBD-infused products?
It is CBD, yeah. So a few weeks ago we announced the partnership with Emblem,
right.
And it's a partnership focused on branding CBD products. Starts off as oils, and then lotions, and eventually gets into edibles and gets into some of the brands that we own,
right.
Where we'll put CBDs into those brands.
I was having a deja vu moment there because I'm thinking, I think we must have just interviewed these guys because this seems very fresh to me. And then we just had Nick Dean here from Emblem last week, and he was talking about this, and I'm like, oh, the penny drops. Anyways,
yeah, perfect.
Slowly but surely, but eventually. Cool. So yeah, so we were talking about Emblem, about GreenSpace Brands during the Emblem interview, and so I kind of feel like I really kind of know the company now. So how do you grow this business into an international enterprise?
Well, I think it starts that we have a U.S. entity now, a U.S. platform, so we've got salespeople and merchandisers and everything we need in the U.S. to kind of grow it. But I think we'll wait on clarity a little bit on rules as they relate to CBD before we launch these brands in the U.S. So right now it starts as Canada. And we have relationships with every major grocery store and pharmacy and natural health food store in Canada.
Right.
And we have all the feet on the street as well as the key account managers. So we're well positioned to take a brand that we create with Emblem and put it through that channel once the regulations are kind of allow it. And before that, we'll probably start on non-CBD hemp-based products with that same brand to start establishing the brand in market.
Okay, so I have shelled organic hemp seeds on my porridge in the winter time.
Yeah,
and
only in the winter time.
Only in the, for some reason, porridge doesn't appeal to me in the summer. I don't know. I like white wine during the day too. It's like
very odd.
I'm just a herd animal. So then the CBD. I mean, how do you manage the inconsistency of CBD regulations from state to state and federally in the United States? I'm just curious about that because our last guest was also CBD focused and mentioned that it was inconsistent, and I didn't really dive in on it with him, but I wish I had, so I'm going to do it to you.
Good. The tough questions. Well, I think for us, we have some time to figure that out because we're not going to launch in the U.S. right away. So right now it's a bit of a slippery slope. It's very much a black hole. So we're kind of avoiding the U.S. entirely until the regulations become clearer. I think there's some information around the World Health Organization indicating today that CBDs should be something that are deregulated, and hopefully that permeates kind of the worldwide community. And certainly, I would imagine Canada would be one of the first to pick up on that concept, but I imagine the U.S. would be one of the last. So we're going to wait until the regulations become clear around CBDs before we enter that market at all.
Okay, so just for my own sake, is it legal for a non-patient to buy CBD in Canada?
Yeah, it's still not legal. It's still considered a banned substance effectively. It's kind of tied together with THC. But as of October 17th, it'll be legal, obviously, through the online channel and wherever else it's CBD allowed to be sold.
Will be allowed under the recreational regime.
That's right.
Even though there are no recreational attributes to CBD, except for the fact if you do a ton of it, you start to sparkle.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure about that piece, but yeah, exactly. It will be.
I'm telling you.
That's what happens. It will. That's exactly right. CBDs are going to be legal under the recreational kind of rules, and we anticipate, a lot of people anticipate, that eventually the Canadian government will deregulate CBDs and allow it to be sold as a natural health product and through pharmacies. But for now, that's not the case.
So can I ask you, my organic shelled hemp seeds, they probably contain some CBD, I would think.
Small amounts, yeah. If it's coming from industrial hemp, it'll contain small amounts of CBD.
Okay. Yeah. In California, I happen to know that there's a measure that has either passed recently or is soon to pass where they are going to ban the use of industrial hemp as a source of medical CBD.
Right.
And is that something that you're familiar with?
Yeah, it's I'm vaguely familiar with it. I've been reading about it a bit.
Does that complicate your universe in any way, shape, or form in terms of the input costs?
It doesn't currently, mainly because, again, we're not going to be in the U.S., but a lot of the industrial hemp is grown in kind of the Midwest and grown in China, interestingly enough. So I don't think the purchasing of CBDs from industrial hemp is going to affect that very much, but you never know if that becomes something that catches on and other states decide that's the route they want to take, that would have an impact potentially. But again, because we're not really US based, I don't think it'll affect us, certainly not in the short term.
Interesting. So CBD, to produce CBD relative to THC, you know, THC has such a wider range of effect and sort of characteristic as to how it interacts with particularly the human mind.
Right.
That, you know, there's a lot more that goes into acquiring a high quality THC, high potency THC dried flower, premium dried flower, than there is required to obtain CBD from hemp. Is that correct?
I believe so. There are many different types of CBDs in hemp and in cannabis. There's more in cannabis than there are in hemp. But yeah, I think you're right. It's certainly the interaction of whatever strain of CBD with the human body is still relatively unclear. There's some research now going on, but because it's been effectively illegal in North America, at least for a long time, there's not a lot of research. So like the THC side, the CBD world is now undergoing a lot of research to see what are the true effects. And again, this WHO study or whatever came out today indicating that it has some effect with stress and anxiety relief and pain relief and different things like that is a help. But
the World Health Organization just came out with that today.
Yeah, they just
Boy, are they ever a leading edge thinking agency.
Yeah, wasn't that something? But,
that's funny. Well, you know, it's interesting. You see all this, you know, evolving research and clinical data coming out now, whereas before you couldn't even study the plant without finding yourself or your subjects exactly incarcerated. So I suppose it's a good thing that now the clinical and the official medical side is going to come out and officially tell us what we've already known for decades.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you're right. Patients or people who have been using CBDs will swear by it, and they're in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who will talk about it, but in the absence of true clinical research, it can be considered snake oil or something like that, and that's what we want to avoid. I mean, we believe, as does Nick from Emblem and pretty much everyone on our teams, that CBDs have a truly therapeutic and medicinal effect. But having more research to kind of study it and verify it is not a bad thing.
That would help.
That would help. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so then do you envision this product ultimately, or CBD rather, being in everything from, say, like energy bars to energy drinks to, weight training, protein replacement substances? Like, where's the limit as to where CBD will not end up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on what the effect of the CBDs are, because different CBDs do different things, but I envision it to be pervasive. So I think there will be sleep shots that have CBD, and there'll be morning energy shots that have CBD, and but different types of CBD because they produce a different effect.
Right.
But yeah, I think long term we'll see CBD in a ton of different products, in a lot of drinks, and a lot of edibles, and in a lot of sort of more medical forms like tinctures and those sorts of things, gel caps.
Is there any body of work available at this point where somebody who's very curious about it can go and find out that, oh, okay, this CBV is good for these things, and this is the strain that has high CBV or CBGA, or like, is there any work like that?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of work like that. Pointing to one particular resource might be challenging, but I know Stanford, for instance, has done a lot of work. They've been doing a lot of work on
Stanford
University, yeah, interestingly enough, on kind of the effect of these different CBDs. So I think that's probably a place you could look, but there's tons to look at online. The question is, how valid is it? There's so much kind of loose research online that probably is grounded in a good story and certainly in patient response, but true clinical research, I think there's very little of it just because it's so new.
Right. So from an investment point now, GreenSpace Brands has started trading when?
3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah, we've been since May 2015.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And now Emblem Corp has put in $2 million investment. Is this a precursor to a more intimate tie-up down the road, potentially?
You never know. I mean, never say never. I think it depends on how our teams work together. But right now, it's an investment to get this new brand or these new brands started. And then it carries a royalty with it, so that's how Emblem's going to be compensated largely, plus it's a supply agreement. So it's a multifaceted agreement, but really what it is two very good branding businesses getting together and sharing resources to try to get the first CBD brands on the shelves.
Wow. Sounds exciting. Matt, we're going to leave it there, and I'm going to look forward to talking to you again in 3, 4, 5 months and see where you're at. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Great. Thanks, James. Yeah.